The story begins with a true event in 2012. A team of divers is tasked with maintaining a pipeline system at a depth of 91 meters in the North Sea. During the operation, the support vessel experiences a malfunction in its navigation system. One diver was trapped at the bottom of the sea without oxygen and without life rafts. He only had 10 minutes to maintain his breathing and wait for his colleagues to rescue him. When he struggled to climb back to the rendezvous point, the ship couldn't return in time because the sea was extremely rough, constantly pulling the vessel off its intended course. The diver began to lose consciousness. Death was almost certain, but ultimately, a miracle occurred that science still cannot explain. The story begins with a young man sitting and talking with his girlfriend. They were engaged. Their conversation was interrupted when Chris had to leave for work. His job was that of a deep-sea diver, one of the most dangerous professions in the world, teetering hundreds or even thousands of feet below the surface. To be honest, his girlfriend didn't like his job at all. It was too dangerous. Each time he was away from home, it was for months at a time, and she didn't know if he'd return alive or a lifeless corpse. She was really worried, but this was how Chris made a living. He also quite enjoyed his work. So a few days later, Chris took a taxi to the North Pier, where preparations for this diving trip were underway. His task, along with the diving team, was to assemble and maintain a cable system 300 feet below the surface. The mission involved several other divers. Chris was lucky to be assigned to two of the most experienced and skilled divers in the profession. The first member of the team, Dave, was very quiet. But according to Duncan, he had become quite friendly with Chris, and that was indeed the case. Dave gave him some very useful instructions and even readily told Chris to follow him if he didn't know where to go once they got down below. After a night's rest, the manager announced that everyone should prepare for work. Chris's team was the first to go. Dave was the one to start the journey. Below, the sea was pitch black. Chris was next. He was quite bewildered due to his lack of experience. Fortunately, Dave came to guide him. The two of them reached the cable, and replacement materials were lowered one by one. When they installed them in the lighting system, the surrounding area became less dark. This system was quite large, with many different parts and areas. To perform full maintenance, they needed to go deep inside to get the parameters. Chris was assigned this task. He had to swim in to check the situation. During that process, an unexpected problem occurred in the control room. For some unknown reason, the ship's control systems lost access. Initially, there was only one, then a series of them, and finally, they all stopped working. Tonight was a stormy night, with heavy rain and rough seas. The ship couldn't stay still, and divers like Chris were in danger. Dave, knowing the danger, warned Chris to get out immediately, otherwise they would surely die. The two had to swim out, racing against the speed of the ship being swept away by the water. Dave managed to reach the cable system first, followed by Chris. Unfortunately, Chris's rope got caught on the edge of the structure. Duncan lowered all the ropes to Chris from above, but to no avail. Dave couldn't run to help either because the boat above kept drifting away. The distance between them was growing. If this continued, Chris would be torn in two by the pressure. Luckily, their fears didn't come true, but the rope connecting Chris had broken, the air supply was gone, and the backup oxygen only lasted for 10 minutes. Dave knew the rope would break sooner or later, so he told Chris he absolutely had to swim back to this spot. Only then would he have a chance of survival. When the rope snapped, Chris was flung backward into the darkness. Duncan, seeing the hose had run out, tried his best to pull him up, but there was no one else there except Dave. He didn't know if Chris would survive. In the control room, they learned that a diver was missing. Someone wanted to anchor the boat, but the captain refused. Beneath their feet lay a complex network of pipes. A single misstep could lead to not just one death, but a catastrophic environmental disaster, with consequences so enormous that no one would accept them. After a few minutes, the systems began to recover, but it was still not enough to save anyone. Time was running out. Chris only had 10 minutes. The captain decided to use the boat's hand-operated propulsion system to stabilize the vessel. This was an extremely dangerous act. One mistake would mean the death of everyone on board. This was merely an attempt to prevent the ship from drifting, to preserve hope of rescuing Chris. But retrieving him from the ocean was no easy feat. The ship's systems needed to be restarted so the navigation equipment would function. Restarting the ship's systems in the middle of the ocean was an unimaginable feat, and the operators hadn't figured out how yet. Chris was equally determined, clinging to the crevices and climbing up. Several times, his grip slipped, causing him to fall back down. After a few such attempts, he finally reached his destination. But that was also when the backup oxygen supply ran out. Chris's eyes slowly glazed over. He remembered his girlfriend waiting for him. Every time Chris left, she worried, sometimes even crying, not knowing what the situation would be like when they met again. Safe return, or a final farewell. Chris felt incredibly guilty, but his body had truly reached its limit. Then he fell into a coma. Up on the ship, the probe operator found Chris. It was miraculous that after 7 minutes without oxygen, he was still alive. He was only unconscious, his body twitching slightly due to lack of oxygen to the brain. Craig wanted the crew to use the probe to retrieve Chris. Wasn't that its purpose? This was a rather dangerous operation. The Vulcan was only designed to retrieve small objects. Chris was in a very weak state. Any action could leave he trapped there forever. But every second down there increased the chances of Chris dying. Craig had no choice but to operate the device himself. The machine had a hook, and Craig tried several times but couldn't hook it onto Chris's life vest. Only with Andrew's guidance did he manage to do so. But when they tried to pull Chris up, they discovered another hook fixed to the railing. Before losing consciousness, Chris had attached it to prevent himself from being swept away by the current. This is an act of self-preservation, but it also creates difficulties at this moment. Duncan had previously rescued a sunken fishing vessel. Many people had died, some he couldn't find. All he had was a box of the victims' belongings, which he had to painfully give to their families. Duncan didn't want to do the same to Chris's girlfriend. While he was at a loss, the operator found a way to quickly restart the device. He tried it and succeeded. Immediately, the systems were back up and running. The rescue operation for Chris has begun. Hopefully I won't lose any divers today. After saying this, Duncan lowered Dave into the water. Under guidance from above, he quickly found Chris and strapped him to himself. As Dave was about to climb aboard, powerful waves crashed down, causing the ship to rock violently. And the situation underwater was equally precarious. Dave quickly pushed Chris away, otherwise both would have been crushed to death by the diving capsule. Then he clung to the rope and pulled his colleague up. But this process was anything but easy. Large waves continuously appeared, creating tremors that seemed intent on trapping them both. Dave thought he couldn't hold on much longer. Several times he managed to climb a little way up only to fall back down. But under everyone's hopeful gaze, Dave used all his strength to climb up and grab the diving platform. In this way, they escaped what seemed like a certain death. Duncan pulled Chris up and tried everything to revive him after 29 minutes without oxygen. His face was deathly pale, as if all the blood had drained from it. Everyone was hoping Chris would react to Duncan and Dave's pleas. However, there was no response. Everyone, initially relieved to have saved someone, was now saddened by their late arrival. But then a miracle occurred. Suddenly, Chris called Dave. He woke up at that very moment. The whole crew breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone let out a heavy but relieved sigh, especially the crew members. They immediately steered the boat to shore, using all their resources to help Chris recover. After each deep dive, divers like Chris had to stay in the decompression chamber for a while to allow their bodies to acclimate to the pressure of land. After 3 days, Chris was fine and showed no signs of distress, as if nothing had ever happened. Dave was quite happy about this. As soon as he returned home, Chris met his girlfriend and told her that they had almost never seen each other again. She didn't say anything, just cried and hugged Chris. After this trip, Chris got married. 3 weeks later, he, Dave, and Duncan didn't take a break from work, but returned to the place where they had failed to complete their mission. This time everything went smoothly and without any unexpected events. To this day, Chris's case still has no official scientific explanation. He suffered no physical or mental harm after being deprived of oxygen for nearly 30 minutes. No one could clearly explain this miracle. People could only speculate that the change in pressure and temperature saved Chris's life. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.